Oh, welcome in, everyone. I am Jack Neary from fantasyfarmsports.com. Today, we're giving you our ultimate running backs list of 2024 top 5. I don't want to bore you guys with all the ins and outs. We'll do sleepers, we'll do upsets, we'll do surprises later on. But right now, I want to give you your top 5 running backs of the 2024 NFL season. We're in our off season right now, and we're headed directly into mini camps. We're also headed directly into preseason games. This video, by the way, is sponsored by gridironhelmets.com. For all your helmet needs, go to gridironhelmets.com. The guys over there are fantastic. They'll do large helmets, do mini replicas of either your high school team. We've partnered with them because they're going to do fantasy football championship helmets, right, for your trophy leagues, all that good stuff. My favorite thing about them is that they want to make sure that they get every detail right. It's very important to them, and as long as you're happy with the product, right, then they move forward. I get emails, I get texts all the time from the guys. They're wondering about other projects that we can get involved with as far as making helmets goes. So go over to gridironhelmets.com for all of your helmet needs. So let's talk about running backs. I'm really excited this year. It's hard to get going, but once you do, you delve into the numbers, they just start to kind of filter themselves through. So let's get to our, I made some fun slides for you guys, so I want you to take a look at these. I'm going to add them to our stage. Just like that, we get to take a look at our 5th running back on the list. And I'll even make this a little bit bigger for you guys. That way, I'll go a little bit smaller for a minute, just so that we can read the stats together, right? I've got Jahmyr Gibbs at number 5, right? His 2023 stats, you could see them on the screen, right? Rushing attempts, 182, yards, 945, 52 receptions, 316 receiving yards, a total of 11 touchdowns. He had 10 on the ground and 1 through the air. And I think what's most interesting about Jahmyr Gibbs is that we were ripping our hair out early in 2023. Right? Remember last year, first game, 4 carries, not on the field. Second game, 5 carries, barely on the field. Third game, 3 carries. We were ready to either trade him or drop him, and some of you guys did in your other leagues. But as the season wore on, Gibbs started getting 10 carries, then 12 carries. Then Campbell started giving him more of a workload, and now you started gaining, if you weren't already beat up in your league, you started gaining exactly where you thought you would be with him. You know, it was tough sledding early, but he paid dividends late. And I just think that this year, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go he's got to go north of 200 carries. 182 is not going to happen again. So my guess is he goes 220, 230 carries. The Lions are going to lean on him. I don't necessarily think that Montgomery is going to get as much work as last year, or it'll be a little bit lighter. So that's our number 5. Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions, absolute monster. You could take him in the first round. It'd be okay. Right? I'm not saying take him number 1, but I think late in the first round, he's great value and he's a number 1 back. That's, to me, you know, it feels like a guarantee. We know that this Detroit team's coming back 100%. Same line, same tight end, same quarterback. Should get a better result out of the running back. I like Jahmyr Gibbs at number 5. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 is another guy who kind of let us down a little bit last year, right? Bijan Robinson. God, he was supposed to be Saquon Barkley, LaDainian Tomlinson, Eric Dickerson rolled into one. And Atlanta still wanted to use Cardell Patterson a little bit. They still wanted to use, Tyler Algier a little bit. But I mean, his rushing attempts started moving up at the end of the year. All right, he got to 214, which was a little bit better than Gibbs. Rushing yards, 976, fine. Receptions, 58, pretty good. Receiving yards, 487. You get the guy out in space, and he's tough to beat. That's the whole Bijan Robinson story. 4 rushing touchdowns, 4 receiving touchdowns. There wasn't a lot of space in that Atlanta offense last year, right? But now you're getting a quarterback in Kirk Cousins who's fantastic in creating space for said player. Gets to the line. He understands what the linebackers asking, what they're telling the other defensive players to do. And from that point on, he puts players in good positions. Let's also remember that this is the quarterback, Kirk Cousins, who had Dalvin Cook for years. And we know what Dalvin Cook was in fantasy football. I mean, until he fell off a cliff, Dalvin Cook was a top 5 guy for years. And I expect Bijan to return much better dividends than he did last year. He will return for you guys. You have him in keepers. Keep him. Don't trade him. Don't, this Atlanta or what's Raheem. Don't do any of that. Bijan Robinson, absolute monster. He's our number 4. This is where things get a little funny because you guys will attack me on the internet and scream and yell, but I've got our Madden cover athlete, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. I've got him at position 3. And I know what you guys are saying. Jack, how could you have the best running back in the NFL at number 3? How could you do that? Right? He's going to be number 1 again, and he's going to be number 1 again next year and the year at. Listen to me. The 49ers ran the wheels off the kid last year. 272 attempts. They're going to want to come back on that. We all remember the Super Bowl. Right? If you remember it as vivid as I do, he got a little tired. That line was a little beat up. I know he looks fantastic in this great picture that we found of him, but 1,459 rushing yards, probably not going to happen again. 67 receptions on 564 yards. It's probably going to get dialed back. Between the rushing attempts and the receptions, he's over 300 yards. He's got 21 touchdowns in the regular season. That's not going to be duplicated. And I'm not saying not to draft Christian McCaffrey number 1. You go out there and do what you guys got to do. But I got to believe he comes back a little bit. Let's say the 21 turns into 16. Let's say the carries come down to about 240-ish. Right? Maybe that does still return number 1 running back. But I've got him at 3 because I think the upside's capped a little bit. I think Shanahan's going to probably want to use Debo a little bit more. Maybe he'll want to use one of his other backup running backs a little bit extra, just so the kid has enough energy that he's not almost pushing 400 touches if San Francisco, I don't know, ends up in the Super Bowl again. They've gotten really far in the playoffs. They've gotten plenty of, Brock Purdy's playing well. Ayuk, it looks like, at least at the moment, is going to be there. But as long as we're being honest, McCaffrey's carries have to come back in order for that team to walk through and dominate again. That's why I have our Madden. By the way, the Madden curse happens from time to time. I'm not going to say it's going to happen to our young Christian McCaffrey, but, things happen. He hasn't been the healthiest all the time anyway. And, again, you could get dinged up and these numbers have to come back a little bit. So that's why he's our number 3. Awesome athlete, great team, great situation. Got him at 3. Don't kill me. Moving on to our number 2 player. I loved this background, so I picked it for him. I stayed with him. Our number 2 player is Breece Hall. Oh, Jack, why could you? Breece Hall's number 2. Listen, In 2023, he had 223 rushing attempts. We could see that on the table right here. 994 rushing yards. Not bad, because he was dealing with Zach Wilson. He was dealing with 9 to 10 guy boxes. I mean, everything was stacked up against this guy, yet he performed. 76 receptions, 591 yards. I mean, if he wasn't running the ball, he was catching the ball. I mean, he was a big part of the Jets offense because, let's face it, after a certain point, they didn't believe the kid could get the ball down the field. Let's fast forward, because Zach Wilson's not there anymore, and Aaron Rodgers is back. And Aaron Rodgers will put Breece Hall in much better positions. Like, even if the rushing yards just come up, or attempts come up a little bit, 223 to 240, fine. They're going to be up in games more. He might get late garbage time runs. 9 touchdowns is going higher. 5 rushing, 4 receiving. I think he'll probably be close to 12, 13 touchdowns this year. And that puts him neck and neck with where we believe McCaffrey's going to be. And maybe they'll dial McCaffrey back even more. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that Breece Hall is going to get more work in a Jets offense this year. And not only will he get more work, the efficiency for which the work he's going to have is headed north. I've got Breece Hall at number 2 in our ultimate top 5 running backs of 2024. And here comes your surprise. Your surprise at number 1 is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's 2023 stats, behind an offensive line that was ranked nearly last in the league for the New York Giants, is this. We got 247 rushing attempts, 962 rushing yards, 41 receptions, 280 receiving yards. I don't know how he found any open space on that field for the New York Giants. They were running, Tommy DeVito out there, Tyrod Taylor, anybody they could find. 6 rushing TDs, 4 receiving touchdowns. That's amazing behind that team. Now he's going to a Philly team that has it figured out. And I'm going to explain to you something. This Philadelphia Eagles line is absolutely going to open up holes everywhere for him. The general manager on the record yesterday said that Saquon Barkley's production in Philadelphia could mirror exactly what Christian McCaffrey did in San Francisco. I'm willing to put money on it that Saquon Barkley at the end of the year will be your number 1 fantasy football running back in 2024. I'm starting to feel it. I think his life is going to be much easier than it's ever been. Easier than it's ever been. Think about that. Think about how much production you could put forward in your own life if it got a lot easier. Oh my God, things get easy, you can get more done, especially if it's been hard for so long. That guy's going to get 5 yards before he even has to juke anybody. Saquon Barkley is going to go he might go for 2,000 yards. I'm going to say that to you guys. Saquon Barkley could go for 2,000 total yards. He's that kind of talent behind an absolutely efficient monster offensive line in Philadelphia. So, recap real quick before we get done here. Here goes our recap, right? We've got Jahmyr Gibbs at number 5, followed by Bijan Robinson at number 4. Number 3, we've got our Madden 2024 cover athlete and Christian McCaffrey. Number 2, I've got Breece Hall. And at number 1 on our ultimate running backs top 5 list, I've got your Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back with more rankings as the offseason rolls on.